Well, we had to do an emergency edition of the Illini Inquirer podcast because Illinois basketball making it a feel-good Friday with a little bit of a surprise commitment and an early commitment from the class of 2024 and one of the top prospects in the state in the class of 2024, Morez Johnson, 6'9" power forward out of St. Rita, which is maybe one of the most loaded teams in the state with all this in-state talent leaving the state, but St. Rita has loaded up. And the guy who broke the news, Scott Burgess, prephoopsillinois.com. Scott, this is big news for a Friday morning for Illinois.
Yeah, definitely. When you think it's all about the 22 class and National Signing Day next Wednesday. I know a lot of Illinois fans are anticipating the Ty Rodgers news, and then boom, you get a surprise. So good, huge day for Illinois. Land the number 2 player in the state of Illinois in the 2024 class. Right now we're doing our overall top 50 prospects regardless of class in Illinois, and he'll be one of the top 5 overall prospects regardless of class in Illinois. So a huge pickup.
I'll ask you all about him, but this is an early commitment, Scott, in a day and age where, I mean, you and I remember Tracy Abrams, those guys were like committing as sophomores. That isn't as popular nowadays or as big of a trend. So how do you think Illinois was able to land him early, and why do you think Morez wanted to commit to Illinois so early?
Yeah, you're definitely right. Like when you and I were first doing this, it was early commitments and Jeremy committing before he even entered high school, and kids getting offers that super early. And it's definitely trended away from that, which honestly, like, I think is a good trend in general.
Agreed.
Kids, but with Morez, what's different is he took visits. It's not like he never visited these schools. He visited Ohio State. He visited Illinois. He went to Notre Dame, and he went to Oklahoma, all with his teammate and a fellow top prospect, James Brown. And from what sources have told me is he wanted to commit right after the Illinois visit. He was sold on what they said. He wanted to stay in state, and people in his camp wanted to calm the brakes a little bit and say, hey, like, let's not fall in love on the first or second visit here. Let's see what these other schools have to offer. So he tripped to Notre Dame, and he went to Oklahoma this past weekend for their football game and everything, and he came back and said, I still want to do it, and I'm done with the process. When I interviewed him at Pangos a couple weeks ago, you could kind of tell he was already over the recruiting stuff, like, which is weird to say as a sophomore, but he's got a lot of offers early in the process, and he was just, I think, ready to get this done with. He's one of those kids that he just wants to play basketball and just want to get out there and do his thing. And I think all the interviews and all the other stuff, it just started to wear on him a little bit, but he knew what he wanted to do, and he pulled the trigger.
So obviously for Tim Anderson, Mean Streets connection here. Morez plays for the Mean Streets, and Tim knows the Chicago area very, very well. This is a big first edition for him. Obviously, what do you think Tim and Brad Underwood did so well here, and how much? I mean, Scott, it's been a while since they've been able to sell a lot of success to in-state prospects. How big a role do you think that played in this recruitment?
Yeah, it's huge. Like, I mean, for years you hear like 2005, and like these kids don't even know who those guys are. Like, they don't even know who Darren Williams is. And Darren Williams was a multi-time NBA All-Star. But now you can sell them on the success that's happened over the last 2 years with Io and Kofi and Curbelo. They're going to be a top 10 team this year, one of the top teams in the Big Ten. So you have a lot to sell right now, and now's the time to capitalize on that success from last year. Recruiting success you really see in those next couple classes after you have a big year, and this is huge. Yeah, Tim Anderson paying off immediately right here with the Mean Streets connection. That was a huge pickup for him. The whole staff really worked it. They were very even before Tim officially came on staff. Jeff Alexander, Chester Frazier, Brad Underwood, and Tyler Underwood, they were all at St. Rita games consistently during June at Riverside Brookfield and Ridgewood and made them feel like a priority. And I think that was important to those guys at St. Rita. Yeah, it's paid huge dividends early on. And for Illinois fans, this gives you even more hope that you can get in to that pipeline, not only with Mean Streets, but with St. Rita, because they have two other top 5 prospects in that class. They have one of the 3 best prospects in the freshman class in Melvin Bell. So yeah, it's a huge day for Illinois.
All right, so Illinois beats out schools like Florida, Iowa, Nebraska, Ohio State, Texas had offered as well. You mentioned Oklahoma, you visited there. What kind of player is Illinois getting? I mean, he's only a sophomore, so he can grow this game before he gets to Champaign. But what kind of prospect makes him the number 2 prospect in the state in his class?
Yeah, so he's just an explosive power forward. He's long, athletic, got good positional size. Those are the things you look for from the jump in a young prospect. He plays with a motor. He plays with tenacity, both on the both rebounding, running the floor. He's a great rim runner, and the skills really starting to come along. I saw him a couple weeks ago at Pango's camp, and he maybe the first game he had one of the most dominant performances I've seen at that camp ever, and it was seals, spin moves on the block, rim running, catching lobs, getting on the offensive glass for second chances. He's really super explosive on that second jump. Good rebounder on both ends, can block shots. The offensive game is starting to expand too. We saw several threes that he made stretching the floor, working in the pick and roll, working in the pick and pop. I think right now he hangs his hat kind of on the energy, motor, tenacity, stuff around the basket, works well in the high-low with his teammate. But I think as time goes on, I think he could definitely evolve into a stretch 4 with the capabilities to do even more.
Obviously, when you look at big men, you need a length, you want athleticism, Scott, but tenacity and effort and motor, that sounds like it's up Brad Underwood's radar. But that also, to me, for you as an evaluator, that has to stick out when it comes to big men. Because, I mean, it's not always you see that kind of effort and tenacity. And that's so important, especially in a league like the Big Ten.
Yeah, just in general, the whole motor thing has become something that over the last 4 or 5 years, I put a lot more emphasis on, that it's something that if you want to play at the highest level, you have to bring it consistently. And I think he's the type of kid that he's starting to show that he has that, like that drive and that willingness to want to dominate. Obviously last year as a freshman, they started 4 freshmen most of the season and they got their butts handed to them a lot of games, but like those guys kept fighting, and you could see it in Morez that he wants to be really good and he plays the game the right way. And yeah, like you said, the motor thing is something in the Big Ten that plays really well with all the toughness. I would say he's wiry strong at this point. He's not like super strong, but he's got the frame to continue to add strength, which obviously he's got 3 years to do that before he gets to the Big Ten. So yeah, but the motor is definitely something I love about him.
I just got the replacements. He's wiry in my head after you said that. All right, you mentioned St. Rita is absolutely loaded. James Brown is the number 1 prospect in the class 2024, according to you guys, according to you, Scott. I mean, what do you think this does for Illinois as they not only approach the St. Rita kids, but this is a really good sign for underclassmen, right? Whether it's 23, 24, 25, Illinois seems like it's got kind of a head start on a lot of those.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job getting in early on these guys. Getting the St. Rita kids down there, getting Nogis down that same weekend. They've put out offers to the correct 2025 guys: Bryce Hurd, Munoz, Melvin Bell. So, getting those involved with those guys early, I think it's obviously paid big dividends today. But then you talk about 2023s, like you can start selling those guys now on not only do we have guys in the 22 class like a Jaden Epps, that are locked in, but then on the back end you can say, we got Morez coming already, so you can sell that to an Asa Thomas. You can sell that to Jeremy Fears and Boswell and Day and all those guys that you're going to have a guy to throw lobs to. You're going to have somebody coming, and I think it's definitely important. And I think with one of the questions I get a lot from just my friends that are Illinois fans and people in general is like, when are they going to start to dominate Chicago? And it's like, you're never going to dominate Chicago. Like it's never going to be where you're going to go up there and land the top 5 players in the state. Like that's not going to ever happen. But this is a big sign, I think, of things shifting, for an in-state kid with 10 really good high major offers to be like, I'm done. I see what I want to see. I know what this program's about, and I want to just get this over with. So I think it's a big sign for them.
Scott, before I let you go, I just want to get your quick thoughts on Illinois' efforts with some of those guys. First off, a new in-state. It's rare that you get to see a kid transfer into the state and not out of the state. But Ty Rodgers now at Thornton, which obviously Ty Streets and the Mean Streets connections there. He played for Ty for AAU as well. Illinois seems like it's really in a battle with Michigan State, a few others for him, but coming down to the wire here with early signing period next week. Where do you think that recruitment stands?
Yeah, so obviously I think he's down officially to Illinois, Michigan State, Memphis, Alabama. I don't see Alabama that much in the mix. From what I'm hearing, it like Illinois and Michigan State, it's a battle between those guys right now. Before he moved to Illinois, like just this summer and stuff, when I was around him at several tournaments, kind of the buzz was he was going to go to Michigan or Michigan State. Um, you know, that toughness factor that Brad Underwood loves also is very much shared by Tom Izzo. And so I think he fits those two programs perfectly. He's the kind of player that you can not maybe necessarily build the program around, but he's a guy that can be a piece for multiple years, because you're going to get a top, 30, 40, 50 player in the country there, and he's going to be there for 3 years. It's not like you're expecting him to be a one and done. And that's what has turned around the Illinois program, is not necessarily getting the Koa Whitneys or like those type of players who were going to bounce after a year. You get Io for 3 years, you get Kofi for 3 years, you get Curbelo for 2, if not 3 years. Those are the type of guys you can build on with class after class. And he brings the tenacity, he brings the defense, he's a really good rebounder, slasher. I think the thing holding him back right now is he's not a great shooter. He's a solid shooter, but not a great shooter. But all the intangibles that he brings would be a huge addition to Illinois, alongside, the 2 commits that they already have in that class. I think he would be like the perfect addition to what they already have. And yes, it's very nice to have a player move into the state and not see them move out. Thank you very much.
Yeah. What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts? I know Illinois fans dreaming of JJ Taylor. I mean, that kid is probably gonna have a chance to go pro right away, right? But just what are your thoughts on him going that route? Some kids going overtime. 3 unbelievable in-state prospects, or I guess 4 now that have left in that class of 2023. When you include Matas Buzelis, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, and probably was awful with it. Jeremy Fears, Kylan Boswell, like that. That's a heck of a group that's playing all across the country.
Yeah, and then obviously you throw in 2022 Amari Bailey and #1 player in the country. Yeah, it's hard to lose those guys, because you look at the rankings and it's like, yeah, it would look a lot better if those 4 were 1 through 4, and then the rest of it looks a lot better. But I just think it's where it's going now. Unfortunately, it's just kids want to go to prep school. They want to play in these national tournaments every single weekend. And yeah, I think there's certain traditional, like Brewster, um, a program like La Lumiere, those are like established programs, but I'm never going to understand Donda Academy. I just not my deal, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows me knows I love Taylor Swift, so I can't have anything to do with Kanye West.
I got you, man. You got to defend your girl.
Yeah.
All right, before I let you go, Jeremy Fears, Kyle, and Boswell have been here on campus. Illinois got a heck of a guard pitch, right? I mean, with Io doing what he's doing in the NBA, the development he had here, Curbelo, the development he's had here, and we expect him to take another step. I mean, Jaden Epps has bought into it, Sincere Harris, and what do you think of the Illini's chances of getting at least one of those guys?
Yeah, I think they're definitely in the mix, and you got to throw Darren Ames in there as
Yeah.
well. So they're in on 3 guys that I would consider all top 50 prospects in the country at the position that is, at the end of the day, the most important position on the floor. Like as Illinois fans have seen with Io and Trent Frazier and Curbelo, what having guys like that has done for your program. Like it's great to have wings and bigs and everything, but if you don't have the guy that can get him the ball and you don't have the guy that can control the pace of the game and run a team, none of that really matters. And so they're in on 3 of the best in the country. I'm hearing a lot of positive signs toward them with all 3. I think that with Boswell obviously being from Champaign, that it's going to be a huge factor in the recruitment. It's, does he want to come home? And Illinois got that selling point to him. With Fears, I think Illinois has done the best job recruiting him. They've made him a priority from day one. They, recruiting him were every chance they could get. They wanted to be in front of him, whether it was open gyms or, even seeing his little brother play at Joliet West. They just wanted to be in front of him, and I think that I would be pretty surprised at the end of the day if they didn't get one of those, well, at least one of those 3 in the 2023 class to be like the Curbelo replacement down the road. And I know their dream is to get 2 of them to play off each other, because that's where the game of basketball is going. Is you can see it in the NBA, you see it in college basketball, where you can play 2-point guards, especially if they have some differing qualities where one's can play a little bit off the ball. But yeah, those 3 guys in general, I would say, are the next main targets to really hit hard for Illinois and try to get one of them on the board. And then I think you can get rolling in 23 with some other, in-state guys like Asa Thomas, Davius Lowry, those type of players. So they're in a really good position early on.
Yeah, Scott, like you and I have covered this long enough to you can't just go all in on state and just in state, because you're not going to get all of them, right? But you can get Iowa, you can get Adam Miller. I know he transferred, but that was a big gift for them. You can get Morez Johnson, and you can get your fair share. But Brad Underwood's also done a good job of getting talent elsewhere, like the East Coast or the international market, like they have. But now that's allowed them to get in the conversation. I think, like, the conversation we're having is the most positive we felt probably about Illinois basketball recruiting in state in a while.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you made a really good point with the out of state, where maybe in the past they would put like all their eggs in one basket. And something I've thought that the Illinois staff has done well is putting them across the board. And obviously Illinois and Chicago in general is always going to be a priority and the number one priority, but they have contingency plans when plan A doesn't work out. And so I think that's been huge for them. And like you said, the international connections, and just being able to go to different areas of the country, what, Chester Frazier and Jeff Alexander have done in other areas of the country, building those relationships and getting them involved with prospects that aren't necessarily from Illinois, or, obviously Kylan Boswell has Illinois ties, but there are other prospects they're involved with nationally. And I think that's huge. And at the end of the day, it shows those in-state prospects that, hey, they offered me, they're showing me that I'm a priority, but I'm not their end all be all. So if I want to do this, I need to jump on. Not necessarily saying like that was a factor with Morez, because they would have taken his commitment down the line at any point. but I think you can start to kind of put a push on some of these kids and say, hey, we got a kid from wherever, Texas or Florida or internationally even, and say, we want you, you're our number one priority, but we got another dude who's waiting, that he's itching to commit. So we need a decision earlier than maybe you wanted to do this.
Great stuff. Scott Burgess, prephoopsillinois.com. Scott, great work on this, and we'll catch up with you soon. Appreciate the time, man.
Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate it.